Hi everyone, Kotzi Web Bureau here, the internet's laziest and most useless music lover, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a review of the newest project from Nate the Space God titled Caught in a Web and Smiling. This is a brand new LP from 518-based rapper and singer Nate the Space God, who has done a lot of stylistic changes these past few months from his arguably best album to date, The Evil, which seemed to appeal to a more mainstream audience and be the type of album that people would expect to make big numbers if Nate had a much more worldwide following. This new project.
Hey,
Who the hell was that?
over here, asshole, in the yellow flannel.
Who are you and how did you get into my house?
You know exactly who I am. I'm the internet's busiest music nerd, and I don't appreciate you stealing my style and claiming it as your own. As a matter of fact, you're pulling a real lil filly right about now.
Okay, first of all, I did not say internet's busiest music nerd. I said internet's most laziest and useless music lover. Those are two very different things. And plus, I'm wearing a gray flannel, whereas you usually wear a yellow one. I'm not copying you.
That may be, but there can only be one bald music critic on YouTube, and it's me. If you want to take my place as YouTube's bald music critic, you're gonna have to face me in a national bald off.
Fine, let's do it. You have so much hair, you make a Sasquatch look like Mr. Clean.
We'll see. I'll be here tomorrow, and I'm gonna pull up with a squad so bald, your eyes are gonna burn out.
The next day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 11th Annual National Bald Off. Please give a warm welcome for today's contestants, Anthony Fantano and Zero. Alright, gentlemen. On the count of 3, I want you both to remove your hats and see whose head shines the brightest against this mirror. Whoever wins will become the official bald music critic of YouTube and win the Medal of Baldness. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh. Oh, God. Oh, it was just a dream. That was a weird dream, wow. Alright, I gotta go film this video. Hello, and welcome back to my channel, the place where I just can't decide what I want to do. I'm that indecisive guy Zero, and in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the newest album by a good friend of mine, Nate the Space God, and this album is called Caught in a Web and Smiling. Caught in a Web and Smiling is the pretty quick follow-up to 2021's The Evil, which some might argue is Nate's best and most mainstream successful album to date, mainly due to the fact that this album saw Nate going into a more radio-friendly trap direction, but unlike most trap, still features the fast-paced, aggressive, lyrical rap that he's always been known for, at least recently. The combination of those two styles is what really differentiated this album from most trap projects, and while I agree that it may just be his best album to date from a critical standpoint, Caught in a Web and Smiling is, well, in my opinion, a little shy of being his best, is easily his most creative and experimental and innovative project to date, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for those like me who don't want to listen to a lot of rap and want to listen to something that's more stylistically appealing for someone who doesn't enjoy rap as much as somebody else. On the inverse, it may be a curse for some people who are just looking to listen to some rippity-rappity bar-for-bar hip-hop. I understand why this album may turn some people off if that's what they're looking for, especially since this style isn't something Nate has explored very much, but if you go into it with an open mind and expect something different, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised like I was. Caught, which I'll call it for short, is actually a funky, bedroom pop, jazz-infused album with very on-the-nose romantic undertones that very often don't include any rapping at all. Nate really goes to town with the soft, melodic singing performances on this thing that will definitely pique the interest of many people who love his singing voice like me, and it also helps immensely that he sounds so confident with it on basically every track on this album. I know personally that Nate doesn't believe that he's the best singer. I know a lot of rappers think that they're not very good singers, but if he were to keep putting on performances like this, especially on tracks like Have You Seen It and Fine Line, I know that the opinions of many people would be nothing but positive and help guide him into using his singing voice more often, because he really does sound so incredible and emotional and full of heart on this thing. Not only that, but Nate's raspy, jazz-oriented voice really works so well with a lot of the songs on here that have more jazzy and bluesy inflections that you wouldn't really expect to hear this in depth on a Nate the Space God project. In his past rap projects, he has dabbled with instrumentals that feature more atmospheric and jazzy undertones with saxophones and electric synths, which I think is due to his huge inspiration from Mac Miller, but he never really capitalized it on any other project like he does here, and it works so well. A lot of the tracks on here really remind me of the disco synthy type songs that you would hear in like a party place or like a shopping mall or a roller rink, which, by the way, is not a bad thing in the slightest. Fine Line, the 9th and second to last track on this project, is essentially the one track on an album that comes completely out of nowhere but is a total freaking vibe throughout its entire runtime. Fine Line is a huge step away from the more mellow, chilled out tracks on this album, and features a groove-heavy, melodic, in-your-face type funk rock track that features a lot of similarities to bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers or even more modern ones like Maroon 5 when they were actually good, and is a style that Nate obviously has never worked with in his entire career, so you would think it might not work very well, but his confidence with his vocal performance and delivery on this track is one of the main things that makes it work so well. Nate is constantly stretching out melodies in the hook and bridge that heavily deliver on the more emphasized melodic approach he's going for on this album, and much like most of the other heavily funk-oriented tracks on here, it really showcases inspirations from artists outside of the hip-hop genre without trying to be a carbon copy of those artists. Even on a project that mostly has nothing to do with the genre he started out in, he's still doing it his way, and that creativity and originality really shows on this track. Much of that musically innovative sensibility is carried over to the last two tracks on this album, especially the closer track, Have You Seen It, which does such a wonderful job at tying this album together from the opening track, Fairly Innocent. Have You Seen It opens with a very ending credits type piano and some distant but dreamy background vocals before the song kicks into this Bruno Mars sounding love song, with so many different types of ambient synths and more distant background vocals going on that make this closer track feel so complete, like it's actually supposed to be the last track on the album that ties everything off. It's so full of cutesy romantic emotion with those higher octave vocals that once again showcase Nate's comfort trying out such a different vocal style this lengthy and in depth, and I truly feel like this track was the one that brought most of the emotion to the table out of almost all the tracks on this album. This track is ridiculously heartfelt, and it serves as such a good spiritual successor to the intro track Fairly Innocent, which, in my opinion, is the complete opposite of this track in every single way, but still achieves greatly at what it's trying to do, which is kick off this very experimental project. Fairly Innocent is a track that features a much more toned down and dreary sound compared to its successor, and essentially is kicking off the 11-track love story dedicated to his fiance in the most artistic way possible. This track basically describes the beginning of the relationship and shows Nate's honesty towards what he could provide to her and give her in life if she decides to be with him. At least, that's how I perceive this track personally. It's talked about in such an honest and love letter type way that I could imagine this being written in the journal of somebody who just met this amazing person in like high school or whatever and already has such strong feelings for them. This track and the rest of this album really do talk about love in such a high school mindset, which is essentially what makes this album so adorable, well, at least one of the things, just without the sense of high school awkwardness. Even the randomly out of place rap track APM, while it doesn't fit on this project at all in my opinion, it shows him going back to his roots and basically telling people that he hasn't forgotten about rap and that there's still plenty more rap to come after this project, though I think a more fitting format for this track would have been as a one-off single after this album was released, just because of how unfitting and out of place it feels, not just stylistically but on the track list too. Like, it comes just right in the middle of the track list, which I think is such a weird place to put it. I feel like if anything, if this track, you know, obviously did stay on this album, which it obviously did, but I'm just saying like in another universe if it did, I feel like a better place for it to be probably would have been like maybe in the beginning or towards the end, just like not right in the middle, because I feel like that's such a weird place to put it and kind of really throws the listener off. Yeah, I don't really think this track was necessary for this project, but if you know the theme of this album, which is 11-11-11, it at least makes a little bit of sense that it's there, so it can deliver on this project's lucky and cutesy message, 11-11-11, which is lucky, which helps me look past the randomness of this track, at least almost entirely. I really do think that Caught is such a refreshing change of pace from years worth of rap projects. It really shows Nate's versatility and comfort in doing something different with this sound, and I really hope that this album isn't the last time he explores a sound like this, because it's such a step in the right direction for being something other than just, you know, mainstream hip-hop or mainstream trap or whatever, and I think that this album will help people see that. I'm giving this album a strong 8 to a light 9. No, I'm just kidding. That's enough Fantano references for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Caught in a Web and Smiling, and this marks my, I think, second return back to reviews, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, let me know what you want to see in the future, and until the next video, my name is Zero, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.